Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Magic the Gathering Arena. I had a bit of a false start, so I had already opened the packets and looked at the store. There was nothing on the daily deals, uh, but I don't think there's any reason to really watch that footage because all I did was open packets. I was saying I'm not really feeling great today, so normally we do a draft, but today we're not really going to do it. Maybe we'll do one on Friday, maybe not. Here are the new cards that we got in the packs. There was a daily deal to get an Ikra pack, so I got it because it was cheap. But gem wise and gold wise, we are probably need to be in a bit of a holding pattern. It's 25 days since until the next season, so I don't really need to do any more drafts other than to get gems. And I did get one mastery orb that just unlocked one skin, which who cares about that. So yeah, there's the only reason why we would want to do one more draft is just to get more gems, which maybe we'll do it on Friday, maybe we won't. We'll have to just think about it. And let's see, we have blue and blue as far as these daily quests go. So we need a blue deck. I tried to rebuild a green deck here with some Ikra cards, so we can call this G test. And that will be better. I put in some mutate cards, took out some other things. Still just really a test deck. Next we would need a blue test deck. So what we'll want to do here is select blue and then select just Ikra cards instead. Blue only. And so what we're looking for is something that could add to the idea of Ikra cards. Like a 0-5 is an interesting idea. You could defend with it. It's interesting that that 0-5 is not labeled as a defender. Apparently, maybe defender is only a thing that happens for white cards. I don't think that's exactly true, but here we have a counter spell that doesn't look bad. So we'll take one of those. -2, and loses all abilities. -2, -0, and loses all abilities. Whenever you draw a card, you get a demon. This could work if you are just going to go for a heavy cycling blue deck, which might be the case. But there is something that Hearthstone, I think, threw out as daily quests that Magic Arena has not done when they throw out one of these new concepts of cycling or mutate. They don't make a new they don't make a new daily quest. So you never get daily quests that do anything different or try to motivate the player to try the new styles of gameplay. Instead you just run into scenarios where you're trying to get victories for, I would say, at least 80% of the daily quests, and then either playing lands or attacking creatures for the other 20% of the quests. And that's probably not even right. It's probably closer to trying to get victories 90% of the quests, which surely is a way that defeats daily quests as an idea. There's some mutate. I have not been seeing any mutate cards really at all for blue. Which that's the thing I would be looking for. Let's see. More than anything else. So flying or hexproof options. Here we've got some mutate. But that kind of ends it there. Where we could put in this as a curator. And then let's see, what else do we want to do? If this is going to be our companion, we didn't need to look to see if we have any blue-white things that would be useful. As we need 5 more cards. There's still kind of a problem though with trying something like this. And it's still having it be blue and white, because since my goal here is just to play blue cards, we still have a decent amount of white cards showing up, which just get in the way of casting 30 blue cards. Yeah, you probably can tell. It looks like my internet's probably not working particularly well either. But you can probably tell I'm not feeling 100%, just rather hot, which is weird as a situation for me because I usually am not hot. No, I guess hot is the wrong way. Clearly not thinking straight either. I'm rather cold, and usually I'm not cold, usually I'm rather hot because my computer heats me up, so I feel like I'm running a fever, and like, I don't know if I did go outside yesterday, so I may have just had some allergies picked up. I don't want to say the C word because that seems very ridiculous in my point, as I've been doing my very best to socially isolate as much as possible. So if I did end up getting that, it would be very weird and pretty much exactly one person's fault, because there's been only one person that I've been around really in the last month or so. So yeah, but I'm not gonna worry about that. I think that's a jump to conclusion, frankly, and so we're gonna just have a short experience today, like just as it is. And yeah, I see that my streaming seems to be having trouble too, so I don't know how to fix that. So this may just be kind of a lost video anyways, for better or worse. We have extremely few news articles, so we may just play 3 or 4 games, and that'll just be that. And I might as well just jump into it. We may really just play 1 game today, because yeah, even sitting up, I'm starting to feel a little weirder, a little exhausted, tired. And I think I've come down with the common cold. A couple weeks ago, I was even thinking to myself, yeah, it's been several years since I've had any kind of cold or flu sickness, and I do tend to every 5+ years or so to get sick once for 24 hours or so. So I'm probably due. It'd be nice if this had happened last year. There would have been a lot less risk of anxiety then, but yeah. that's where we are. And I suppose you could make the assumption, the opposite assumption, is that if I never stream again, then you just have to assume that I got very, very sick. Of course, I in this whole COVID-19 stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few YouTubers that decided just to quit YouTube and used this as an excuse. Although it would be a few. Like, most people are so stuck in their houses and bored that I imagine most YouTubers would just continue making content just out of boredom. Having a bit of an internet argument. Not really. I posted one comment and then am not intending on replying to any of the other people who posted their comments. Someone on one of the video game Facebook groups I followed just to see what the average gamer, at least on Facebook, is thinking. Let's see. And so somebody on this video game group on Facebook, which, like, there's a lot of them, and most of the posts are just memes getting copy and pasted, and there's not a lot of conversations. There's a lot of trollish conversations. It's like, this game is the best game ever. Let's fight type comments. And that's almost a direct quote. It's like, this game is the best game ever. Fight me. Is exactly the type of comments I've seen. But nobody puts any substance in any of their posts. They don't put even 2 or 3 sentences into their posts. So it's not like there's anything great being put there. Which, if I were more energetic, maybe I could go into a diatribe of how a lot of people are just not creative and just don't have a voice or an opinion. And if they do, and they're just trying to mostly echo other people's opinions or spit out a shallow opinion because that's the best they can do, which would definitely boil down to this post. Someone posted, is it okay if I make if I monetize, or can I monetize my YouTube channel if there's no commentary? And I told them, well, this is the very definition of copyright infringement. Like, literally, you're not adding anything to it at all. You're not, before you make a YouTube channel or try to monetize a YouTube channel. Frankly, before you even need to make a YouTube channel, you need to figure out, make your own professional personality, have opinions, have criticisms, have something that you're adding there, something that at the very least gets you close to a fair use defense. Otherwise, you would need special written permission type stuff from every copyright owner of the audio and video elements in the videos you're posting. Now, this is 100%, as I understand it, accurate and correct legal advice. The dissidence that is everybody knows there's plenty of no commentary channels on YouTube, and I will fully agree there is a small vocal minority of people that say they like no commentary videos on YouTube. I totally get it. But legally, there's no defense there. Also, there seems to be nowadays a dissidence between being able to click that monetization button on YouTube and actually monetizing your videos on YouTube. Which, even if you put these videos up on YouTube, no commentary videos on YouTube, you're still infringing on copyright. It's just that a lot of video game companies don't care. The thing that one of these dissonances definitely is the idea that you would ever, and I mean ever, get 1,000 subscribers and over 40,000 watch hours, which is how many watch hours I believe you need, or either 40,000 or 10,000. Doesn't matter. You won't even get 10,000 watch hours. Posting gameplay footage up, no commentary. You just won't. You may get that much watch hours if you have lots of games lots of people want to see cutscenes from, but you'll never get 1,000 subscribers. Nobody's going to subscribe to a channel like that. Even if they did subscribe to a channel like that, they're not subscribing to see anything you're creating or doing. They're just subscribing to see the video game creators' creations. And while I could try to really bend over backwards and make the argument that your gameplay alone is so transformative that it doesn't constitute copyright infringement, the law is never going to support that. No, they aren't. It's just not going to happen. But also, even if that wasn't the case, you're still not doing anything yourself. Think of it from the perspective that you wanted to use a YouTube channel as a way of building up your resume. That you absolutely wanted to say, I've made for 10 years these many videos. PewDiePie is about 10 years old. I've made, like, say, 5,000 videos in 10 years, and each one of them stands as a piece of my portfolio for some future employer who would want to hire you as, say, a YouTube celebrity for a bigger channel, or just as a celebrity for being in a TV show, movie, things like that. Would you even make it through the door if you had 5,000 no commentary videos on your channel where nobody's even heard your voice, not both figuratively and literally? No, absolutely not. You wouldn't. So yeah, you want to be creative if you're going to make a YouTube channel. Now, I'm not going to sweat somebody who wants to put up their footage to show off their friends, and they're going to make it public just out of an ease of use. I'm not going to sweat anybody for doing that, although frankly it should just be private and you should just share the private links. But when you're saying I deserve money for playing the game and not adding anything to it, I deserve ad revenue, which is the level of the claim here. It's a claim that falls pretty flat. It doesn't make sense. And as a video game commentator, I have a vested interest and a moneyed interest, absolutely, to say that these no commentary channels are the bane of YouTube, and they are in part what hurts YouTube. YouTube video game content creators, real content creators, people who are adding something to it, terribly. It really, really sucks when you're trying to run a YouTube channel and put out your commentary, regardless of how good or bad it may be. It really, really sucks when you go and find a video that is just no commentary, that competes directly against yours and potentially might get more views. Because then that almost is a 100% confirmation that people are rejecting the part of the contribution that you added. They don't like you. It's not that they don't like the game. That's what it feels like. But they really just are a problem, and that's when you get down to some of the crazier comments made by video game companies and video game creators, a few of them, who just say, well, all gameplay footage is copyright. It always has been, it always will be. That's where that mentality, I'm sure, starts. So yeah, I posted one comment and tried to be as encouraging and nice as I possibly could be. And the person who posted the comment seemed very receptive to it and seemed to be actually earnest, because honestly I felt like the first post may have just been a tricky self-promotion thing, just trying to get people to subscribe, which somebody before I even responded to this said, yeah, I'll subscribe to your channel. I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm sure you could get 5 or 6 people to subscribe to your channel by posting on one of these YouTube one of these Facebook video game groups, but that's about it. That's why I've never bothered to try to do any of that on Facebook. And Reddit has so many rules against spam, and they just get so much spam because Reddit would be the one place where your channel might blow up if you could get posted on Reddit. But particularly video game content just never gets allowed because the moderators of r/games or r/video games and all of them just won't have any of it. Probably rightfully so. It would be a nightmare to try and curate any of that content at all if thousands upon thousands of people were on the daily putting out videos on Reddit. So yeah, then a couple other people posted after my post and said, yeah, I'm full of BS. And I'm like, yeah, you can say that all you want, but you don't know what you're talking about. That they've seen plenty of no commentary channels that are monetized. The thing is, people think those videos are monetized, but they aren't. Not by the content creator. They're monetized by the game owners. All of those channels are getting content ID claimed, and then the people that are posting it just don't care. So as an end user, you see a commercial still, but all that money is going directly to the YouTube, not the YouTube creator, but the video game developers. And that is in part why video game developers are more tolerant to let those kinds of videos, and just any videos in general, on YouTube, is because they're just making free money off of people's effort. And I would still say it is people's effort somewhat to bother to make a no commentary playthrough. And if I was going to throw a life raft to people who don't want to put full commentary on their full gameplay, there's some post-production work that could be done, or at the very least there could be some in-production or pre-production work or that could be done to add something here. All you need to do is introduce yourself, set up a personality at the beginning, say hi, and then talk a little bit about the game that you're going to be playing, or the section of the game you're going to be playing, and at least you're starting down the path of fair use. You probably still wouldn't hit it, but at least you're adding something artistically. If you say, here, I'm going to be playing World 1 of Mario 1. I remember when I was in the early 90s playing Mario 1 with my little brother. It was so great. We had such a fun time. We were eating popcorn at the time, and every time I died, my little brother would kick the popcorn bowl and spread more popcorn kernels all over the floor. It was so funny. So yeah, that completely fake, made up story I just made, it at least contributes something there. And then you play World 1. Then what you would want to do, if you're just trying to get down that path, why can I just not play this ever? This thing just seems broken. It's an enchantment. I guess I have to put it on a creature, and I just can't keep any creatures on the field. Then you would want to work your way down down the path of saying in the middle of, like, after one run of World 1, I don't know why it would take you more than 2 attempts to beat World 1. You would want to just pause the game and say something else. Like, I get the idea that it's going to take some time for some players to be able to split their brain in half effectively and talk while they're playing a game and not just completely fail. Particularly if you're playing an online game and you aren't really given that extra time. I guess I just have to cycle this always. So yeah, I can sympathize with that. So you could play a level, then pause and play a level until you start to really learn the ins and outs of talking while playing a game. I think there is also a point here that if you have not grown up or grown accustomed to slightly talking with friends or family while playing video games, when you were playing video games when you're younger, that might be a first step before trying to be a content creator, video game critic. There is also the bigger issue of a lot of people don't want to call themselves video game reviewers or critics, and yet they want to be YouTube content creators and still think like they're adding something, and like you aren't at that point. Your gameplay is just not that amazing. It won't ever be. Even the speedrunners, like, who have by far the most amazing gameplay you've ever seen because they know all the tricks and all the cheats and all the glitches in games. Even the speedrunners' gameplay is not interesting unless somebody is talking, explaining what they're doing, explaining why these things are happening the way they are. That's just not a great experience. So, yeah. If I was a real YouTuber that really cared about comments, I'd say let me know in the comments what you think, whether audio commentary only or no commentary videos should be allowed on YouTube. But it's not like you're going to really change my opinion, and it's not like I'm really looking for arguments, internet arguments, to happen. But yeah, I personally feel like YouTube needs to really clean up its gaming channels quite a bit, and specifically just have a new policy in place in general saying you have to talk, and we will be running some kind of draconian argument or algorithm over these gameplay videos, and really getting rid of a lot of the no commentary gameplay videos, or de-emphasizing them. They don't need to get rid of them. They just need to not promote them as much as the algorithm tends to promote them right now. And they kind of already do. Like, when you make it to the point, when you have those 1,000 subscribers and 10,000 watch hours, or 40,000 watch hours, whatever the number really is, I haven't looked in a while, they still just look at your channel and determine whether they want to monetize your channel or not. And I guarantee you a no commentary gameplay video channel is not going to be approved, not based on their standards. If it is approved, it is simply because they're paying people too little to spend 5 seconds looking at a channel to catch it. Speaking of YouTube, as we get off this conversation, since I really don't have enough energy to deal with all of this, the reason why they video gaming on YouTube Twitter thing was talking about PewDiePie streaming on YouTube, and this really wasn't promoted well or advertised well, is because PewDiePie signed a new exclusive streaming agreement on YouTube, and then was obviously attacked by the mainstream media, although arguably not as much as they normally would. I would have to applaud his timing, for lack of any other reason, that he did manage to sign this agreement when like yeah, I'm not gonna exile any. I forgot this is the one that takes a bunch of things out of play and then brings them back into play. So yeah, PewDiePie is exclusively streaming to YouTube, although in all fairness, it seems like PewDiePie kinda is only streaming just Minecraft stuff again, and that's about it. So the most of the rest of his content is like meme reviews, and I kind of feel like that's what PewDiePie has always been, and I definitely was not an early follower of his content. So yeah, that is another element of the fact that PewDiePie is the biggest individual YouTuber to ever existed. Really comes down to just the popularity of Minecraft and algorithms in YouTube promoting Minecraft. Be nice if we get some wins here, but I don't know if we are. Alright, moving on. We have a game on Steam here called Escape the Brothers Salon, which doesn't really look like a hair salon. Maybe it's saloon? Maybe that's what that is. Looks like it's some 3D puzzle elements for $7.99. English, French, and German. I think I'll put it on the follow list and just move forward. I don't think I'm mentally energized enough to really make a lot of decisions right now. So yeah, I'm feeling really weak. I may very well end up skipping Friday altogether if I get worse. Just sitting up is draining me of energy. There was an Epic Store issue on May 5th after they just implemented the two-factor authentication. We are aware of an issue involving some players currently not receiving emails for two-factor authentication for resetting their passwords. We're working to address this. So they forced people into using a new security system using two-factor authentication if you wanted the free games, and then they didn't even have it programmed well enough. And that seems to be kind of a consistent problem with the Epic Game Store in general, is that they had, it's always worth remembering, they had enough time to have fixed all these problems, because they had made the Epic Game Store as a product nearly at least a year before they announced it as a game store for other games other than the 5 or 6 Epic games that existed. And they did seemingly nothing at all to ensure that that would succeed, or that they had the ideas and concepts implemented in the Epic Game Store until Tim Sweeney decided to make it a competitor to Steam. And almost certainly that is my guess as to what happened, is that Tim Sweeney let some side project happen to make the Epic Game Store. He fell in love with it, and then he demanded that it open up as a competitor to Steam, and then they had probably a month if not less time, to convert what was a side project, a small little test project, into a major gaming sales platform. And so they were probably caught with their pants down because of that. Next we have a game on Steam here called Black Book Prologue, which I think is a demo. Looks like it's an RPG game with some visual novel elements. It doesn't look bad. It's free, but it's also just a demo, and it's English and Russian. And so I've just made a hard rule, even though I do like the look of Black Book Prologue, to not bother to follow these demos and these things labeled Prologue. Next we have a game on Steam called Population Zero, which is already tagged mostly negative, so it's not making it to the follow list. It looks like it's probably got no actual gameplay that's finished in it. It looks like it's some kind of survival player versus player game, if I was to guess. Early access, $24.89, English full audio with a bunch of other languages. Single player MMO online PvP. I think that's what they're trying to do as an MMO. And it's obviously not getting well received. I'm not even going to bother to read the reviews. It's a shame. This does look good. Like, what they're showing doesn't look like just a low effort game, but we do kind of run into this consistent problem of either a game comes out and it's sort of finished, but it's super bare bones and ugly if it's a small company, or a game comes out and it's nowhere close to finished and it's doomed for early access forever, which turns out Yandere Simulator, to mention a game that's been in development hell forever and will never really come out, it turns out he did move it off of JavaScript at some point, so he is apparently now using C# as a programming language, which while a small improvement, doesn't really address the main issues of him just being incapable of delegating work or letting go of his pet project or finishing anything. Next we have a game on Steam called Close to the Sun, which I think is one we've heard about. It looks interesting. I think this was teased almost a year and a half ago, from what I recall. It's $14.99, English full audio. I'm going to put it on the follow list and see if we can get some more reviews. It does look like it's probably a first-person puzzle game. They're calling it an adventure. This was an interesting story from Gamatsu. THQ Nordic has added Risen, Rise for Berlin, Sacred, and Second Sight, and singles Floored Up Your Life to their publishing lineup. And what they did is traded away Painkiller and Red Faction for it. So that's a weird way to do that. And they traded it to Koch Media, which, if you had asked me yesterday, I would have said that Koch Media was the company that owned THQ Nordic, but I guess maybe they aren't. But so here's kind of the picture here. You have two games going over here from THQ Nordic to Koch, and 4 games coming over here to THQ Nordic from Koch. But I would also say that these 4 games probably don't have as much appeal as these 2 games, but I bet these 4 games are easy to remaster and just kind of port and update so that they play and make quick cash, where these two games probably have a higher, more demanding player base, so they're going to have to I'm gonna have to work really hard to satisfy any audience that would want to play those games. None of those games also really are so well known that they guarantee any sales at all for anybody. I would say that this is probably a good indication that even THQ Nordic, who's trying to be this giant company, they have run out of old beloved games, and they're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Next, we have a game on Steam called Shop Titans, which looks like a mobile game in which you're running a shop, and yeah, kind of a resource management game. It's free to play with in-app purchases, has a bunch of languages. Nothing there looks interesting to me. See, the problem when you're sick, or at least when I'm sick, is that usually sitting up does come in these like waves of energy dropping. Like, so I feel like at any point I could just slump over. But in all honesty, I've been able to completely talk, and I'm not having really any trouble breathing or anything, so this is more indication of just a flu or a cold symptom, or just allergies, like a really bad flare-up of allergies. So much so, I don't think I'm even going to play another game. Today is just going to be a really abbreviated stream, so apologies if people wanted to see more Magic. I could only say go out there and play more Magic. Like, well, we need one more. Let's try to get the Stately Quest done. One more game. I'm going to push it. Gamatsu has an article here, 4-player co-op roguelite. Rogue Heroes Runes of Tausos adds a Switch version. It's due out alongside the PC version this summer. We'll see how any of these games actually come out. I don't recall seeing this game announced. It looks like that Zelda game where you could have 4 Zeldas on the screen at the same time. I'm not sure that Zelda game, that 4 Swords, ever would work or played well if you didn't have 4 people playing at the same time, because that was seemingly a big emphasis of it. But yeah, maybe with the PC version, maybe there will be more of a single player option. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Zero Grave, which just looks like a low effort neon light 3D shooter. Looks like Hexit, or some game that came out where you were in a ship and you could spin around in 360 space, and it was just impossible to control the unit. Yeah, made me motion sick. Came out in like the early 90s, mid 90s. Maybe even, yeah, mid 90s I'd say. This game is discounted to $5.39 and it's English only. I don't see anything interesting there. Next, we have a game on Steam called Super Gear Quest, which just looks like a platformer that isn't animated particularly well enough to catch my attention. I'm not seeing any enemies that are being shot at or jumped over or anything like that, which makes the game feel lacking of features. $13.49 is too expensive. English only, and comparing it to Castle Crashers, it's probably not the best comparison either, because Castle Crashers wasn't as nice as I had remembered it when I went back and played it. It is, I guess, questionable whether I'll get back to playing Uru today. Probably not. Tomorrow, very possibly not even tomorrow. Borderlands tweeted out that Cate Blanchett is in talks to play Lilith in the Borderlands film adaptation. Okay. That's not super surprising. The idea that people would be in talks. If they actually get her, does that really do anything for the Borderlands movie adaptation? Not really, because as long as some actor / actress is not announced for a movie and they feel like they would be a completely horrible match, it doesn't really matter. The success of a movie, in my opinion, is going to much more rely on the writers and the directors and just like maybe the production company. And because if it's just a terrible production company that interferes with everything or ruins the movie, that will be a big issue. Actors that are good act and can follow the script and follow the rules. So Cate Blanchett not being able to remember any movies she's been in because I don't follow actors by their names, probably is a fine actor, so she probably would do as good a job as anybody else. It really comes down to a lot of other factors. As long as they don't announce Randy Pitchford as either acting in the movie or being anything more than a in-title only executive producer, I would say there's a decent chance that Borderlands will get made and be alright. Although the story of Borderlands is very paper thin, so boiling it down to a 2-hour experience is going to probably reveal that quite a bit. And I don't know how many props and how many different guns they really want to make or show off in a Borderlands movie. I wouldn't be completely surprised if there's only one gun per character and it's barely shown at all, and the idea of the gun insanity and gun love that exists in Borderlands gets completely played down for like a lower rating with the MPAA, which then just has you focusing on the story directly of Borderlands, which can be said in maybe 3 sentences. It's not that intriguing. So maybe if they had an original story, there might be something interesting there, like the Tales of the Borderlands game did. But even the Tales of the Borderlands story wasn't amazingly interesting. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Pokemon Go Battle League Season 2 delayed to next week. Yeah, we're probably just always going to see delays. Although it does seem like the announcements of delays are starting to slow down, probably due to the fact that we've just probably delayed everything as much as we needed to until we hit a point where things didn't have hard release dates for the most part. So we'll probably start to see a lot of games that were designed to come out in the summer saying that they're not coming out in the summer, or just letting it pass without ever mentioning a delay. I imagine we kind of have a very large number of games that are just trying to get people to forget that they announced a release date without trying to make a big deal out of it. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Roblox hacker accessed user data by bribing an employee. I don't care about Roblox, but if you're interested in this article, go out and seek it. Right now I'm just trying to tap blues. Gamma Sutra has an article. EA reaped $5.5 billion in revenue last year, most of which came from digital dealings. Again, if you want that inside baseball article, go ahead and seek it. EA came out with its Q4 financial reports, revealing that EA partner announcements. They have 4 EA partner announcements this year, which they didn't say the actual names of. Although I do think one of them might actually be a golf game. Yeah, this is also a great example. Right now, this stream is a great example of where having a second content creator would be really helpful. Just having somebody stand in for you. That's where you see on like news channels and such that the anchor will sometimes get replaced and say that the person is sick. TechRaptor has an article. New Terraria Journey mode makes game easier for newcomers. Okay, that doesn't really point me any closer to wanting to play Terraria though, as a flat 2D Minecraft style game, survival game. Yeah, I'm just not into that idea so much. TechRaptor has an article. Valorant Vanguard anti-cheat almost cooked a graphics card. There is a report out there. There is a lot of hate showing up for this low-level, kernel-level Vanguard anti-cheat software, which they did put out a small update to it, but it didn't really fix any of the concerns of people who didn't want this effectively driver anti-cheat software to be on their computer, taking up processing power and not even really succeeding greatly at preventing cheating in Valorant. Twitch has a new look for channel pages, which probably is a good argument for me to go and try and punch up my Twitch channel. Although my Twitch channel I don't think has any new content from like a year ago or so. So it really is just a backup. So it would be really a waste of my time to go and do that. But if you are intentionally working from Twitch, you definitely should go touch up your content and make as good of a picture and as good of a front page as you can. It did feel like you really didn't have enough options to make custom pages on Twitch, and YouTube at one point had the options to make really customized pages, and then they kind of streamlined away some options for content creators. So everything seems more uniform now by Twitch's standards, whether you like them or not. Right. I feel like this guy is just letting me win. See, we have a game on Steam here called War Dust 32 versus 32 Battles. It's rated mostly positive. It looks too much like a militaristic player versus player game, and the graphics look a little asset flippy and a little unpolished. It requires a VR headset on top of that, which means the player base is probably extremely low. $17.49, online PvP only, English only. Full audio, yeah. This game is asking quite a lot of people, frankly. 32 on 32. The idea, the concept of being able to have battles that big is interesting, but it falls apart in actual practical instances. Why could I just play this, by the way, when it wasn't my turn as a instant card? I swear. We are getting an update to Magic, but this game is super broken right now. There are entire cards that don't seem to want to do the things that they want to do. It is really ridiculous. I guess maybe this was flash. You may cast as a spell with flash anytime. Okay, so that actually wasn't broken. I just have forgotten the flash game mechanic, which again is an issue I think more on the situation of Magic, where they've just had too many mechanics that you can't even follow through on half of this. TechRaptor has an article here. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners hits PlayStation VR today. I don't believe this is the Walking Dead game that the creator of the Walking Dead comic book was suing. I think that was the other Walking Dead game that he was suing, but I could be wrong about that. TechRaptor has an article here. A Little Witch Academia VR boom racing has been delayed to late 2020. Which I guess that means they're going to still be pushing Little Witch Academia, or Netflix is going to be pushing it. Which, okay. Netflix is kind of have to do what they're doing because they need to try to constantly make good children's entertainment. And they're trying very hard to make good anime on top of that, which can be complimentary and sometimes is, sometimes isn't. So they're just going to have to fund, I think, a lot of trash until they can discern some actual taste from their customers and figure out what works and what doesn't. And for kid content, that's particularly difficult. TechRaptor has a review for Pax Nova, which looks like it's a top-down twin-stick shooter game. Maybe not. Maybe it's more of a simulation, like Empire simulation game. They give it a 6.5. Pax Nova offers some good 4X strategy, so long as you can overlook its major technical flaws. It has really weak diplomacy mechanic, massive technical issues, threadbare quest, and forgettable graphics and sound designs. So yeah, it doesn't even make the average of a 7.0. Yep. Well, we got the daily quest done, and maybe if I'm not feeling too ill, I'll be able to play 14 games. We got the weekly victories rounded out, so this would be just relatively small amount of XP we'd be getting anyways. Gamatsu has an article here. Footage of cancelled Prince of Persia Redemption from 2012 resurfaces. So this would have been a PlayStation 3 era Prince of Persia game that could have been. Also, I think we already mentioned that there was a big leak of source code for a bunch of Nintendo operating systems for like the Wii, and hardware specifications for like the Nintendo 64. Some of that might actually help some emulator makers, but you would have to also be careful, although emulator makers have to be careful anyways, to not potentially use copyrighted information instead of reverse engineering. You want to do a clean room reverse engineering design. There also was a PC port of the decompilation of Mario 64, and I tried to find from that article a place to really download it, and I didn't look very hard, but nobody was really posting a direct link from the... This doesn't look bad as a concept for a Prince of Persia game. This Prince of Persia looks different, and I feel like a lot of these gameplay combat maneuvers may very well have may very well have been added in other elements. This does seem like in these fights you go into cutscenes while doing battles a lot more than would have been reasonable in 2012, but this does look a lot like Shadow of Mordor too. Like, a lot of these functions look like they could have easily been just copy and pasted and taken and used in Shadow of Mordor, which I'm not sure. Ubisoft made Shadow of Mordor, so I don't know what happened there. That it was just general concepts, or somebody who made Shadow of Mordor saw this demo. But yeah, as we're watching this whole thing, it in no place looks bad. They really do need to make a new Prince of Persia game, but I doubt they will ever do it in favor of just an Assassin's Creed game. It is, I guess, also worth mentioning, though, that there wasn't any Assassin's Creed games that came out that had all of those abilities either. Komatsu has an article here that a PGA Tour 2K21 has been announced. So a golf game from 2K, not EA. I was wrong about that. And let's see, what else do we have? Gamatsu has an article. Ghost Runner PC demo is now available with a cinematic trailer. Ghost Runner, I don't think I've heard anything about. So, kind of weird that a game that looks this polished wouldn't have had enough advertisement to have caught my attention. It's going to come out in 2020, I guess, and this demo seems like the first bit of advertisement. Maybe we'll start to see that, and ideally that would be the case, is that we would want to only get the first hint that a game was even in development when a demo comes out, and when we can actually play it with our hands. But that certainly isn't the world that we have been living in, so it does feel odd right now to have something like that happen. Right now we're in the world of hype trains and 4-year announcement plans before a game even releases. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article here. Funcom Dune game is still a few ways away, so it possibly will come out around the time of the Dune movie, because I imagine the Dune movie might get delayed, but I wouldn't also be surprised if the Dune movie came out and it was 2 or 3 years until the Dune game came out, and they probably wouldn't connect to each other at all, nor would the fandom of Dune probably be increased or decreased any. I think people who like Dune are going to like Dune for life, and they're not going to make any experience or anything like that. They're not going to be swayed to want to play a Dune game because they saw the most recent Dune movie. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. We have a game on Steam here called Not Our Home Platinum Edition. This is a Dark Screenshot Syndrome horror game. Asset flippy too. $1.19 English. Really very little came out. So I can actually just skip the rest of the games because there's only about 5 of them, and we'll just cover the news, and then that'll be it for today's stream. TechRaptor has an article. A new Oculus Quest is reportedly coming and facing delays. Okay. a new Arcus quest might be interesting. Gamatsu has an article. App Loving invests in Sweet Escapes developer Redemption Games. Okay. Tech Raptor has an article here. Master Chief Collection on PC gets Halo 2 this month. I'm really surprised that the Master Chief Collection really released the way it did, and I imagine people won't even care much about it once all the games from the Master Chief Collection are out. But it is really weird how the first game I don't think was in the Master Chief Collection, and it took them several months to release the first game, and then the second game, at least on PC, wasn't on the Master Chief Collection and still isn't, and just now is getting replaced. So it feels like it's been 6 months, if not longer, since the point of the Master Chief Collection coming to Steam. Now would be the point, I suppose, to start thinking about buying it if you wanted to actually play all the games in a row, which I feel like most people that buy the Master Chief Collection would want to do that, or probably there's a larger audience that just wanted to play the most recent games on multiplayer and don't care anything about this story. So this is kind of an experiment, I imagine, in their mind to see how many people bought it on day one when they could play pretty much just the online elements in the most recent games, and who wants to buy it to play all of the games, because that might eventually affect how much effort they put into the story for the Halo universe, and I imagine they will focus more on multiplayer, and that probably is the right move. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Updated Mountain Blade Bannerlord bans allegedly given for violating Chinese law. Let's see what the update. Updated Tail Worlds has replied to us and updated us on the situation. For the moment, they are thoroughly investigating the issues before taking any definitive action. The original continues below. So, several Asian players are alleging that Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord bans have been handed out by a Chinese administrator for people who are violating Chinese law. The alleged violations including political speech such as Free Hong Kong and more innocuous but equally banned words like coronavirus, or the allegations, and the allegations only get worse from there. Also, I heard a brief story where the Hong Kong democracy protesters, which that is, I imagine, still somewhat going on, alleged that they were tortured in prison, which I don't disbelieve one bit. I wouldn't be surprised if almost everybody in a Chinese prison is tortured. China has some real PR problems that they could work on to stop setting themselves up to look like the bad guy. And since we skipped about 5 games, that brings me to the Humble Bundle store. And looking at the Humble Bundle store, we have a bundle here called Sierra the Third, which was Gabriel Knight 3, Velocity 2X, Time Shift, and Police Quest collection for $1. That's not a bad deal, and likely not. You probably don't own any of those games. The Beast Within, a Gabriel Knight mystery, Phantasmagoria 2, Arcanum of Steamworks, and Magica Obscura, Caesar 4, Quest for Glory 1 through 5, and Shiftlings. That, again, not a bad deal. Of course, some of these are Sierra games that you probably wouldn't want to play. Time Shift isn't known for being particularly good, but it is slightly still relevant for being ambitious. And Police Quest is a text-based Sierra game, so I'd like to own them, but I probably wouldn't want to cover them. King's Quest Season Pass for 12 or more. I already own that. That's not bad. King's Quest Collection. This is the old King's Quest games. Again, Sierra point and click, not even point and click, text-based adventures. And then Gabriel Knights and Geometry Wars and Space Quest and Phantasmagoria 1 and Caesar 3. So I guess Caesar 3 is better than Caesar 4. Otherwise, they would have switched those two around. So that does make an interesting bundle of games. You probably don't own half of those. Although right now, I don't know if I would budget for myself or recommend anybody else to be buying extra games, particularly games that aren't really in the top 10% of games that that I'd want to play. Nutaku apparently has a new game, as I'm looking through my Twitter feed, called Heavy Metal Babes, as a turn-based mech battler game. I'm just gonna kind of scroll through my feed. Since we've been going only about an hour, I imagine we don't really have a lot here anyways. Apparently there's something wrong with the latest version of Unity 3D, so don't upgrade. And let's see if there's anything else that needs to be talked about right now instead of Friday. Susan would just gave CEO of YouTube talking about how she's been a board member of a organization called Room to Read for many years, which I mean just goes to show she's got split focus.